Oh, look at the size of this shark under me. Wow, that is unbelievably big.
A massive shark circling, leaving him wishing he had a bigger boat.
From giant sightings in the deep sea to stolen sailors and smashed ships, do these sightings convince you? Up first is the Spire. The Maritime Exploration Group had deployed a new ROV system to investigate some of the towers that were seen on a sonar scan all along the edges of the gaping Marianas Trench. These spires were hypothesized to be focus points of life in the trenches, but researchers were absolutely not prepared for what they actually discovered. It would take several hours of spiraling down this particular spire before they discovered a giant squid bitten clean in half. This was fascinating, but soon they found something even stranger about the squid. It was massive, even half devoured. Sperm whales have peg-like teeth, and yet the marks on the squid were obviously not the tearing marks made by those sorts of teeth. Instead, they seemed to match the bite pattern of a very large shark. One even dared to suggest, given the clean shearing marks, it may have been the result of Megalodon. Next is the shelf. The geography of the depths is a very important part of life for the fish and other creatures that dwell in the deep. It's often the subsurface geography of the oceans that's actually responsible for luring in sharks, sudden drop-offs, and especially where runoff and other natural processes encourage large sharks to approach closer while maintaining at depth can lure them ever closer to shore. Why should the sharks of the deep be any different then? After some searching, one of the most promising sites that scientists discovered was a place they called the Shelf, located between the two channels of the trench. This sudden drop-off was hypothesized to be a perfect hunting location for a massive shark. It only took a few hours after perching the ROV on the shelf for a sighting to be made. Far off in the distance, the massive shadow of an unidentified shark lurked in the darkness. These next researchers peered through the gloom. This shark was spotted in the midnight zone above the Marianas. On first glimpse, this looks like a short-fin mako, a pelagic, high-speed pursuit predator. But mako sharks don't descend even as deep as great whites do, and so seeing one this deep is unusual to say the least. But some have been critical of this sighting, believing both the size and depth to be incorrect for a mako. To meg enthusiasts, this may look nothing like a meg, but new analysis of existing Megalodon spinal vertebrae has shown that Megalodon was not a short, stubby, thick shark like we often think of, like some overgrown great white. Given the length of its vertebrae, it was actually a much longer, more sleek shape, perfect for patrolling long distances of open water and exploding in bursts of speed to capture prey. This, you may notice, is almost exactly how short-fin mako and oceanic white-tip sharks live. We may have actually been looking for the wrong shape of shark this entire time. Next is the sunken cage. This footage comes from the bottom of the Marianas Trench and is truly an incredible sight. A massive shark comes along in the darkness to try and take a chunk from the bait hidden within this either massive or tiny cage. The question with much oceanic footage is one of scale. In the water, large creatures at a distance can appear like small creatures up close, and vice versa. If this cage stuffed with bait here is, as some have claimed, a shark diving cage capable of fitting a person within it, then this is truly an utterly massive shark, easily reaching the fabled 60-foot length estimated to be the size of Megalodon. Of course, others have said this is actually a lobster trap, and this massive shark is in fact the relatively well-known sleeper shark, which grows to some 20 feet in length. Now, that is still a very big shark, but it's no Meg. If its size is as large as many have claimed, it does seem this may be some relative or descendant of Megalodon. What do you think? Next is a disaster in crystal waters. Some fishing boats do trawl the waters above the Marianas Trench. One such boat was a Philippine tag trawler that had been out for a few days laying deep nets. It's not uncommon for sharks and other predators to follow fishing ships, so when a somewhat nearby research vessel received word of these fishermen being followed by an immense shark, they initially believed it to be little more than over-exaggerated fishermen's tales. But then, 20 minutes later, a real distress call was relayed, and the researchers rushed to help the fishing vessel. When they found it, they managed to desperately rescue tired and terrified fishermen from these crystal clear waters. The boat had been demolished, actually ripped in half, and the shivering fishermen begged the ship to leave, but the researchers were hesitant, wondering what sort of beast could do this to a ship, until a massive shadow drifted under the boat, and multiple researchers, no more concerned with survival, screamed at the captain to start the engine. No sightings have been made since. Up next is the Shadow. This unsettling clip of an utterly massive shark was filmed at the edges of the Twilight Zone as a research vessel was descending to the trench. Usually the waters of the Pacific are crystal clear, but this occurred after a storm, and so the shark managed to escape into the gloom. Despite delaying their descent to try and pursue the shark, it was clear this encounter was a pure accident, as the shark certainly did not want further contact with this submersible. Still, such an immense shark could not be easily explained away, especially after being measured by the crew on board to be some 45 feet in length. Some have said it's a sleeper or basking shark, but others have doubts given its shape and coloration. And finally, the USS Indianapolis. The Indianapolis would be sunk in July of 1945, dumping nearly 900 surviving sailors into the crystal clear waters of the Pacific just a few miles from the Marianas. Then the sharks came. Most of the lost souls were from exposure, thirst, madness, and seawater poisoning. Still, dozens were sucked under the waves, never to be seen again. Sailors would recount seeing oceanic whitetips circling beneath them, waiting for someone to stray from the group or sink a little too deep. But there are other stories. In the depths of the night, some sailors claimed to see a massive shark lurking beneath them. Some even swore they saw an impossibly massive dorsal fin looming in the night. In all, only 316 sailors survived the ordeal, leaving hundreds in the water. Was the massive shark a mass hallucination, or was it a deep-sea behemoth coming up for a midnight snack? Those were Megalodon sightings in the Mariana Trench that prove it's still alive. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.